Food bloggers, hi, how are you today? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Eat Blog Talk podcast. This is the place for food bloggers to get information and inspiration to accelerate your blog's growth and ultimately help you to achieve your freedom, whether that's financial, personal, or professional. I'm Emilie Pullar. I have been a food blogger for 13 years, so I understand how isolating food blogging can be. I'm on a mission to motivate, inspire, and most importantly, let each and every food blogger, including you, know that you are heard and supported. Sometimes episodes are filled with information and value, and other times episodes are just filled with inspiration and encouragement, and this is one of those episodes. Emilie Pullar from the Burnt Butter Table joins me to talk about honestly, just working hard, following your passion, but putting in the work to get where you want to go, believing in yourself, doing everything from the heart, putting yourself out there, all of those important things that don't get as much attention as they should, in my opinion, but that really build the strong foundation for your business. This is one of the more inspiring interviews I've had in a while. It was so fun to record. I kind of forgot we were in the middle of an interview. To be honest with you, I really hope you're inspired by this. And I didn't even mention that Emilie's blog has reached a lot of success in a really short time. So this foundation that she's put together for herself has paid off in dividends with her blog and traffic and revenue. Enjoy this one. It is episode 573, sponsored by RankIQ. Eat Blog Talk is thrilled to unveil the Eat Blog Talk Accountability Group, an exclusive community made for food bloggers who crave accountability, focus, and connection. We understand that not everyone is ready to dive into the Mini Minds group or the Masterminds program. That is why we've crafted this special offering for bloggers like you who want that extra push toward their aspirations but aren't yet able to make the financial or time commitment. Here's what the Eat Blog Talk Accountability Group has in store for you for this low introductory price of $34 a month. This ongoing membership has its own private Slack channel. You will gain access to a dedicated channel facilitated by the community manager at Eat Blog Talk, Taryn Soley, for questions, insights, and collaboration. You will get weekly accountability check-ins so you can stay focused and motivated with those weekly check-ins in Slack to track and achieve your goals confidently. You will have access to productivity focus sessions. Join these optional live Zoom sessions twice a week to boost your productivity by working alongside your peers and tapping into that collective energy. And you will get monthly group Zoom calls replacing the former Clubhouse chats. Join these calls to connect, discuss current topics, share experiences, and celebrate achievements. Those calls will be hosted by me, Emilie Pullar, and I can't wait to see some of you there. If this sounds intriguing, head over to eatblogtalk.com/focus to sign up today. eatblogtalk.com/focus. The Burnt Butter Table is run by Emilie Pullar and is a pasta-filled blog with recipes ranging from quick 10-minute pasta sauces to intricate filled pasta shapes made from scratch. Emilie's true passion for food shines through her recipes, where she endeavors to explain and break down processes in an easy-to-understand way. Emilie, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad that you have an accent. I feel like it's so funny. People with beautiful accents tend to come in clumps, but today you're the only one with the accent, so you're standing out.
I feel like a New Zealand accent is actually a little bit polarizing. Some people hate it, some people love it.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's beautiful. So,
oh, thank you.
Yes. Well, thanks for joining us here on the podcast. We're going to talk about just like putting in that hard work and some other important things, believing in yourself, following your passion. But before we get into all of that awesomeness, why don't you give us a fun fact about yourself?
Sure. So I wanted to be a chef when I was in high school and finishing up high school. That's what I wanted to do. And my parents actually talked me out of it. And I'm kind of glad they did. I think it would have been a really hard road, but that's really where my passion did lie. And in New Zealand, I think it's a really common thing here for high school students to take a year off between high school and college, or we call it university here. So I lived in London for a year and was always going to come back to study, but I guess I just wasn't quite sure what. So it was when I lived in London that I decided to pursue fashion instead of being a chef. So yeah. but I've come back to it.
Yeah, I was going to say it came full circle because here you are as a food blogger, right?
Exactly.
That's so cool. I feel like those things that we really feel in our gut passionate about when we're kids do eventually try to resurface.
I think so. I think we are born who we are. It's so interesting, the nature versus nurture, because my sister and I are 18 months apart, but we couldn't be more different. We are absolute opposites. And I just really think you are born with who you are. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. So on that note, tell us a little bit about your blog.
Sure. So I have to take you back. I'll try and keep this very concise. But so I did a fashion degree and then started a fashion label, which I have done for the last 14 years. It's actually only in the last few months I've started doing Burnt Butter Table full time. So when we had lockdown, I'm such a cliched lockdown story, but when, running a fashion label and having to pattern make and design new collections, we just couldn't do that at home. So it was the first time in 10 years of running my own business, I actually had some time off. And I know this is not an okay thing to say, but I actually really loved lockdown because it just gave me time to figure things out. So I didn't start my blog in lockdown, but I started my Instagram in lockdown, and it just became really popular. And I've started my blog not even understanding, as I'm sure a lot of people do, that you could even make a living out of it. I started it just because I thought it would be a fun place to put some recipes. And so, I didn't publish my first blog post till I think about March, April 2022. And then I sort of just, chipped away at it, not even understanding my analytics. I never looked at that sort of stuff at all. And then I really started getting serious about it probably in May, June last year in 2023. And then I started the Food Blogger Pro course, which I think was awesome. And I was at about 30,000 sessions, I think, around July in 2023. And then I got to 50,000 pretty quickly after doing the Food Blogger Pro course. And then I got accepted onto Mediavine mid-September 2023.
Okay, that's awesome. So really, you did grow fairly quickly. I know it seems when you're in the middle of it that it's going slow. I know that feeling, but
yeah, I don't really know. I think isn't it funny as bloggers we do so much by ourselves, and yeah. I didn't know what was slow, what was fast. Like I just had no idea. I still feel like I'm quite new to this, but I think my growth has been really quick. I think in April this year I got up past 400,000 sessions.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
Yeah. So I guess that's good growth.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. That is incredible growth for sure. Yeah. That different perspective is needed sometimes because you're so in it that it's like, what? I don't know. Is this good? Is it not?
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So what would you say are some of your recipes, ingredients for success for this? Because that is fairly quick growth, and a lot of other people are in the same boat where they started around the pandemic, and they're definitely not seeing this growth.
I think we'll touch on all of those points sort of throughout our conversation, but I think one thing that was really lucky was that I started the blog. I had another full-time job, and even though we decided to wind down the fashion brand about 2 years ago, and we had a very detailed exit plan. And so at the end, I did have to turn Burnt Butter Table into something that paid the bills. But to start with, it wasn't that at all. And so I wrote my recipes really organically. And I think one of my main things is I just like to write recipes. All I want is someone to have success with making one of my recipes. I absolutely think of every single thing that could go wrong, everything it's supposed to look like. And so I think I've always been a really detail-oriented person, and it's the same in the fashion brand. Like I wanted to design clothes that made women feel really amazing. So I'm sort of taking that through to writing recipes. So I wrote recipes that started ranking without even understanding what that was or anything about keyword research. I really just wrote recipes for the user, which is what we're supposed to do, right? And I think a lot of bloggers just get so tied up in SEO, and that is so important, and I've learned so much. But I think sort of it gets a little bit overcomplicated with all the information that we have. And if we actually write recipes that look great, taste amazing, and are really, really clear and concise, that's the secret, isn't it?
Yeah, the word or term you just used, detail-oriented, I think is huge because it's so easy to throw a recipe together just to get it up, right? Like I have these photos.
Exactly, yeah. Or just to rank. I think it's a dangerous thing if we're just trying to rank a recipe, which is what we are all trying to do. We're trying to make a living. But if that really is your sole purpose, then I just think you can get a little bit stuck in the SEO stuff.
Yeah. Yep. So just being really honed in on the detail and why you're
Yeah.
serving this to your user.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really important. And then I assume that along with your story, because you talked about you loved cooking as a kid, and now here we are again. So I assume that passion is intertwined in your story as well.
Yes, very much. I know that not everyone gets to follow their passion, but I do. I just really, really strongly believe that everybody is capable of such great things if you just put in the work and let yourself do it. And I think if you're going to find something that you're passionate about, you're going to enjoy it, you're going to love it, and that passion's going to come through. I like to think that people, when they read my recipes, they can really feel my passion in my words. And I think that if you can find something that you love and are passionate about, like I think I saw the other day in the Mediavine Facebook group, someone said, "Oh, I'm thinking about starting a new blog, maybe about parenting. I'm not actually a parent myself." I was like, "What? Like, what? That just makes no sense. You need to find something that you love." I mean, running a business, especially I found, because I ran my fashion label with someone else, so I had that sort of team support, but running a blog is so lonely and you're on your own, and running any business is all consuming, right? So if you don't love it, it's just not going to work.
I think many of us do have a passion for food, which weighs in our favor, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if you get into food blogging just to make money, and I do know people who do that, by the way.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's a long game. It's not going to serve you long term. It's not going to serve your readers because they feel the passion as well, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That's what I really hope that people feel my passion. And I think just inherently that's going to come out in your photos. And I think people put off doing something because it's really scary. I mean, I've run a business since I was 25, so it's kind of all I know. And I just think people put it off and they don't think it's the right time, financial stuff, but it's always the right time. You can just go out today and buy a notebook and start writing some notes. And I really do think if you're willing to put in the work and find something you're passionate about, you can make it work. And I think I really learned that through my fashion brand. We were so passionate about it, and every decision we made it work because we trusted ourselves and we were sort of, prepared to do the work and the sacrifices and all of that stuff.
And intuition plays into that too, just kind of following what your gut is telling you.
Yeah, and that comes with time, doesn't it? I think it comes, I was 25, very naive 25-year-old when I started my fashion brand. It was called Micah. And I think we just didn't have a care in the world, and money wasn't even a factor. So I think I've come into burnt butter table with a completely different mindset at 39, that I need to make this work financially, but also I want this to be something that I enjoy doing for years and years to come.
Yeah. So how do you lean into your intuition? What does that look like for you as far as like running this business?
Yeah, I think I'm lucky. I grew up with very, very supportive parents, and I grew up with my dad running his own business. So I think I've always been around people making decisions, and yeah, I've always felt really strongly about following my gut, and it just feels right. And I think that just comes with time, but also if you have an idea and you follow your gut, if you're willing to put in the work, I just don't think those two things those two things have to go together. If you're willing to put in the time and the effort, then it's going to be fine. And I think, yeah, as I said, every scary business decision we made, and Micah especially, like we opened a shop on like the main shopping street in Auckland, and that was really scary rent-wise, and moving to a bigger studio and all those things. You make it work because you actually have to, and I think making those big scary decisions is actually so important for a business because it just keeps pushing you along.
And putting in the work, you've said that a few times. I totally agree. You've got to act, right? You can't just have the idea and sit on it forever. And don't you think that putting in the work helps you to follow your gut? Like you need to take those steps in order to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like following your gut is one thing, but putting in the work that's where it happens. That's where the magic happens.
And the action part is where a lot of people get hung up because they have great ideas, they're creative, they know what they're passionate about, but actually implementing all of those ideas becomes really hard, I've noticed.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is so difficult running your own business. I don't know if you have felt the same way with sort of some friends and family who have never run their own business, actually just don't understand the time and commitment it takes to get something off the ground. There's no way. I mean, I worked 7 days a week for so long starting my fashion brand, and we both had part-time jobs on the side, and And so I think that's instilled in me that's still what I do now, which is, there's just no way around that really.
Oh, that's an interesting thing I've been thinking about lately too, is how over time your hard work evolves.
Mm-hmm.
Like it can get less and less. For me, I'm at a place where I have a team and they help me, but I still have it ingrained in my soul somewhere that
yeah, totally, that's never going to go.
yeah, like I still need to be working as hard as I did when I started, but I don't. Yeah. So how do I get rid of that, Emilie?
I don't know. I think when you run your own business, you don't clock off at 5:00 and stop thinking about it. I mean, I definitely don't. I think about recipes, and I thought about the clothing brand. Like, you don't go home and stop thinking about it. Unfortunately, that's the one thing with running your own business. There's no escape from it. So I don't know. That's going to be a tough one for you to let go of, I guess.
Yeah, it's a process. It is a journey for sure. Like lots of self-talk, lots of self-care, and just working on my mindset all the time on that.
Yeah.
So with putting in the hard work comes boundaries too. Have you had to set some boundaries for yourself?
It's a funny one. I definitely have now. Last year was a pretty tough year. When we decided to close down the fashion label, we had a really detailed exit plan, and I sort of got to last year and thought, okay, well, I really need to turn Burnt Butter Table into something that pays the bills. We have a mortgage and responsibilities now and all of that stuff. So, but on the flip side of that, with finishing the fashion label, we wanted to make as much money as we possibly could in that last year, just to set ourselves up, in case we couldn't get these side projects going. So we normally did 2 collections a year, but last year we did 4 collections, and then we did hundreds of custom orders for all our amazing clients over 14 years that were pretty devastated we were closing down. So we were so busy. And then Burnt Butter Table, I had to make that work. So I worked every single night, every single weekend last year. And my father actually passed away in the middle of it as well.
So sorry.
No, thank you. It was a really, really tough year and absolute burnout. But it kind of got to the point where it was burnout, but I couldn't even deal with that. I had to keep going. So I think, and I made it work. I committed to doing 2 blog posts every week in the last 6 months. And that's definitely what got me over the line, got me monetized for sure.
Oh my gosh. And working through burnout is not recommended, by the way.
No, I know you've had that before. Yeah. I've listened to so many episodes. I know, yeah. I think everyone has to get to that point though, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I think that, I don't know, I hate to say it, but it kind of is something that is required in order to really know the job of being an entrepreneur, right?
And then to set those boundaries, it's like you can't set those boundaries.
You grow from it. You can't grow truly without knowing that kind of rock bottom.
And it's interesting because I think when I was, I worked 2 full-time jobs last year. And I think when I kept sort of telling myself, it's going to be so much easier next year, and you'll be able to even publish so many more recipes. You'll be able to do so many more things. But it's been interesting this year. Now that I'm just doing this one full-time job, I don't actually feel like I'm much more productive, and it shows me how much work I did last year in those night times and weekends. So now I'm doing the same kind of work, but I get the weekends off, which is really nice.
Oh, it is so nice. It seems like a little change, but that's a huge change. Hello, food bloggers. Are you looking to spice up your social media account with unique and exciting content? If you want that secret edge that makes you stand out in your niche, I might have the answer for you. Katarina can help you streamline your podcasting and social media content with audio editing, video editing, or social media strategies. She specializes in working with food bloggers, tailoring her content creation packages to their needs. Whether you want to create something new, like a gripping podcast, or if you want to refresh your social media strategies by creating scroll-stopping video content for platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, she has got you covered. If this sounds intriguing, get in touch with Katarina. Go to eatblogtalk.com/resources to get more information about Katarina's services. Again, go to eatblogtalk.com/resources and click on her link. Now let's get back to the episode.
You make so many sacrifices. I've got an amazing husband, and we didn't see much of each other last year, and it's magic coming back and doing fun things together.
Yeah, it's funny looking over like the history of the past year, and like I'm going through a little burnout right now after a few certain projects and things in life. And you get there and you're like, wait, how did this happen? But then
how did this happen again?
Yeah. You look back and you're like, oh, right. Like it makes sense. Like that happened, and then this, and then that energy drain, and then this person. Like you can kind of piece it together, but sometimes I wonder, why can't we see that all the time when it's happening?
But do you feel like you're better now at dealing with the burnout? Like, do you have sort of good things in place that you know are going to make you feel better?
That's such a good question. And yes, I followed my intuition at the beginning of this year. So pretty much January 1st. I don't know. I just kept getting this feeling and this thought that I need to step up my game with taking care of myself. And I'm pretty good with self-care anyway, but I was like, okay, so I followed my intuition and I've just been like on top of it. And I think if I wouldn't have been doing that, I would be in a huge state of depression right now, probably. It would be really bad. So that has helped tremendously, but it's still I don't know, frustrating, I think. Just
for sure.
Why couldn't I have stopped this?
But I know, but we're human. We're not perfect.
Right. And once you're
we make mistakes our whole lives.
Yeah, exactly. We are human. I feel like once you're in it, you do just have to let it play out too. It's not something that you can just like, okay, I see you, now stop. It doesn't work like that.
No. And that makes you feel worse. It's so Absolutely. You've just got to, sometimes when you're in those processes, you just have to go with it. And it's like so frustrating, but and you know that it's going to get better.
Yeah, it will if you just keep doing the right things and following your gut,
exactly.
Taking care of yourself.
It's so funny, the hard work thing. I mean, I had a friend say to me at the start of this year, they were like, "Oh, you're so lucky, Burnt Butter Table's really taken off." And I was like, there's nothing lucky about it. There's nothing lucky about it. And it's such a cliche, but I really do think, that saying luck is just hard, preparation. And there's nothing lucky about it. It's blood, sweat and tears. And luck is just preparation waiting for an opportunity. I really, really believe that. And I do think luck can play a part in people's journeys 100%. But at the end of the day, it's the people that work hard and more importantly, who don't give up at the hurdles that make it. There wouldn't be one single successful person who didn't face some kind of hurdle or adversity. And it's the people that keep going. They're the ones that make it. So I really, I'm such a fan of hard work. I just think that's how I've got to every single point in my life is just through sheer hard work. Yeah.
And there are so many pieces of that too. Like, you have to be dedicated to what you're doing. You have to have like foresight to think ahead a little bit to the future. You have to be grateful for what you've accomplished.
Absolutely.
I think hard work is like just 2 words, but there's so much that goes into that, right?
Definitely. And I think blogging also, I mean, it's such a cliche thing to say, but blogging is a marathon, not a sprint. And now that I've got to a point where, it's earning me a good income. And one thing that I am lucky about is that earning American dollars for me is pretty great here in New Zealand.
Oh, yeah.
So that is one thing that is lucky. But I think I'm not here to make a quick buck. I'm here for the long haul and talking about those sort of things. I definitely probably take a hit on my RPMs because I do group lots of things together in my posts. Like, I don't want ads everywhere. So I'm not here just to make as much money as I can. Like, when people are doing like RPM challenges and all that sort of stuff, it's just not something that I'm interested in. I want my posts to be, and I think that works because if there's less ads, I just feel like people are going to come back. So there's all those decisions we have to make, isn't there?
Yeah. And just having the belief in yourself that you can do it is something I think that falls into that hard work too. Like,
yes,
you have
definitely.
to have that to keep going.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any encouragement for people? Because I feel like talking to a lot of food bloggers on a weekly basis, this is something that a lot of people get hung up on. Just like, I don't know if I can do it. So it's that and action, like in action and not believing in yourself. Do you have encouragement for those things?
I think that if you truly love what you do, it's going to work, and you do just have to keep going. And there's been so many times where, maybe your traffic dips down, or when I was working in my fashion brand, there were obviously like really tough economic times after COVID, after the pandemic. But if you truly believe in what you're doing, you just have to keep going, and it's going to work. And there's going to be ups and downs, but if you truly love what you do, you just have to keep going, and it's going to work.
And like what you said, the long game thing is such a good mindset to be in. If you're doing this for short-term gains and quick success, it's not going to work.
Yeah, definitely. And I think our accountant, Micah, always credited us from the start with not taking much money out of the business to start with. I think so many people earn $1 and take $2. And I think that's one of my biggest things in a new business, is just to be really careful with how much money you're taking out and investing that back in, and outsourcing, because I'm such a firm believer in outsourcing work that you don't like doing yourself. So I think that's another massive thing.
Yeah. And then you mentioned the ads thing. I think that's an important thing to cover too. So not just filling your site with ads just to make every single penny.
Yes.
Is there anything else you do to your blog posts? You are also super detail oriented, like with photography or writing or anything that makes your content unique?
Yeah, I think I really do write only what is necessary. I use Rank IQ, which I know you're a big fan of, and I don't really take much notice of the word count part of it, because I think if I need to write more, that's because I actually did need to write more. I really, really do think about breaking down each recipe and thinking about, if someone is actually cooking this and they've never cooked before, how can I make this absolutely crystal clear? And in my recipe card, we put so much detail in the blog post, but some people, I guess, are going to jump to recipe. Well, most people do, I guess. In the recipe card, so much feedback that I get on my recipes is, thank you so much for the step-by-step and how much detail. And so I think just breaking it down, and does the heat need to go down? Does it need to go up? Like all of those little things that might come quite natural to us as a cook when we're standing at the stove stirring something, we might adjust the heat up and down, but just putting all of that detail into the recipe card, so that I just think if someone is going to make one of my recipes and it's going to work, they're going to come back. If it doesn't work, they're not going to come back. So I work really, really hard at making my recipes as detailed as I possibly can. I think that's huge.
Yeah. I was just looking through what post is this? It is for easy homemade pasta dough.
And there's a lot of detail on that one.
Oh my gosh, I love it though. I think if someone really wants to make homemade pasta dough, this is the place to go. You've got just great photos for every single step and captions, and it's very thorough and detail oriented.
Not every post needs to be the same. So something like a homemade pasta dough, that I have to give someone a lot of detail and a lot of photos, but then because I do sort of really intricate homemade pasta shapes, but then I also do really easy, quick pasta sauces. So a quick pasta sauce is not going to need as many words as a detailed post on how to make a ravioli or a gnocchi. So I think just really look at each post individually, and they don't all have to be the same. That's the joy of it, I think, and it keeps it exciting for us to write.
Yeah, definitely. What about let's talk about the discomfort of being a blogger. I feel like there's comparison and getting hung up on what other people are doing and other people's numbers and other people's success. So it's hard to put ourselves out there sometimes, just knowing that can be a hang up as well.
Yeah, I probably haven't struggled so much with that with the blog. I probably have struggled with that on social media a bit more, but I really have tried to let go of that completely. And just, we are, I know, God, I'm just full of cliches this morning, but
they're fitting, they work.
Yeah, exactly. We are all on our own journey. We're individual people, and that's what makes us so amazing. And I think that's what makes blogging really fun, is that we're all completely different, and that's what we want to be. We don't want to be the same. We want someone to come to our blog and be like, wow, this is cool, this is unique and different, and that's what we want. So no, I mean yeah, I think it's good, because you never really know exactly what people's blogging numbers are, whereas on sort of Instagram and social media you kind of see following counts and likes and all that stuff. So yeah, no, I've really, really tried to let that go. Because people would look at us and compare themselves to us. So there's always people with less followers and more followers, and that's just how the game works. That's just such noise in my brain. It's good to tune that stuff out.
And there's always going to be people who have more followers than you. Always.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're never going to be the top of all the people in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What other advice or encouragement do you have for people who might be just getting started with blogging, or maybe they're a year or two in and they're feeling that drain that we can feel from time to time?
Yeah, I feel like I'm still new. I was only monetized in September, and it was only a year before that I started. So I feel like I feel like I'm too new to even be giving advice, but I think I've done so much research on SEO. I've listened to so many of your podcasts, so many other podcasts. Doing the Food Blogger Pro course was so great, just for those fundamentals of, alt text and optimizing your images and all of that stuff. So I think there's absolutely no way I would be where I am without doing those things. And also I was really lucky to have a mentor. I never want to say who it was, but it's Erin from Cloudy Kitchen. Do you follow her?
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, cool. She's another New Zealand blogger. She actually lived in New York for a while, but she's very, very successful. And she has been so generous and kind with sharing knowledge. And I've actually really found that in the food blogging space. I'm not sure if you feel the same way, that everyone's really happy to share their knowledge and encourage each other. And I think that's really cool. I think it's such a nice space.
Yeah.
And Erin has been really, really helpful. And I still text her every now and then. We've met in person and we're like proper real life friends now. But I think it's really, really important to, if you can find a mentor or just find other bloggers to talk to, because I think this is just, I've really struggled with going from working with someone and a team in a studio, going to work every day, driving to work, getting up, putting makeup on, to just being at home. I've honestly found it really difficult. I just don't like working at home by myself at all. I think we need to find those other people and find that community ourselves. I think that's a really, really huge one.
Oh, it is. And it's hard at first. It feels hard.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, where do I find these people? I'm at home by myself. There's nobody here.
I know.
But yeah, if you just, get onto social media, get onto some of those good quality Facebook groups and just start putting yourself out there really and just being bold.
Definitely.
And
for sure.
Asking the questions, answering the questions.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to make friends in the space. There are so many kind people.
Definitely, because all of us bloggers are all lonely, going crazy at home. So I was like, yes, connection, please.
I know. I remember the first couple of connections I made through Instagram. I was like, yes, please. I want to be your friend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, is there anything else that you feel like we should touch on, Emilie?
Yeah, I mean, talking about setting goals, I think is really important. So I think when I started at 25, we just started and didn't really even think about it. But as we grew in our business journey, we had a business mentor, we did business plans, set goals. And I think setting goals, even, for like a new blogger, I think and any blogger is so important. At however small they are, I think it's really important to write them down. There is huge data around writing goals down physically that they're going to happen. And I have written goals down for my session counts and I've hit every single one, because if they're written down and you see them, you're going to work to make that happen. And so I think that's a really huge thing. And I also think celebrating all those wins, however small they are, go out for dinner, buy a little piece of kitchen equipment, something that will make you happy. I think that's really, really important. And I also think setting a really interesting thing we did at Micah was setting our core values and we typed them up and put them on the wall. So thinking about what you want, what's important to you and your business, even though it might just be you, and it's just me at home by myself. But I think having those core values, and one of our core values at Micah was having fun, and that's something we did every day. So I think those things are really important, and it doesn't take much time just to get out a notepad and just write down some quick wins and also some longer term sort of big picture goals as well.
Yeah, it's something like that can feel overwhelming, like, oh, I have to sit down for a couple of hours, but really, no, just 5 minutes, write some things out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But there's just such huge data around writing goals, and I think it's such an easy thing to do.
Oh, I so agree with that. Well, this has been super inspiring. I love this topic and just talking about kind of like what goes into the heart of your content and your business, right? Like,
yeah, definitely.
So much more than SEO and Pinterest and getting traffic. It's really like what keeps the machine moving.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the main things that I've done and I've really learned is that, and the strategy won't work for everyone, but especially on social media, is to put yourself out there more. I think when I started putting myself on my stories at my fashion brand, we got sales from that because I tried things on and talked things through. And I think if you can have practice at putting yourself on your stories and talking to your audience, I think that is honestly such a key part of my success, that your audience feels connected to a person rather than just a page. And if they're Googling a recipe and maybe yours comes up with someone else's, they might see your name and be like, oh yeah, I know who that is. I know that person. And I think that's really, really important. That's one of my major things for talking to new businesses is get yourself out there. People are going to invest in you rather than just a business name. Especially this age where AI is so just infiltrating our lives. Yes. Oh my gosh. Every podcast I listen to, I hear bloggers talk about how we have to use AI. AI is so important. And I get that. And I have used it for bits and pieces like my about page and stuff like that. But I will never, ever use AI for my blog writing. My mum actually edits all my blog posts, and she loves hearing my voice and she laughs. And I'm never going to get that from AI. I think it's so important to I think as a new blogger, don't try and write your blog posts for what you think people want to hear and to sound really professional. Obviously, you need to sound professional, but put your own voice and say funny things and make it lighthearted and fun. And I think that's one of the huge things. I want people, when they read my blog post, to actually hear my voice in it. And I think don't get hung up on trying to sound professional.
I think that's more important than ever. Just having your face, your voice, something that makes you, and
exactly
relaying that to your people is so important right now.
I think AI is going to come around. I think it's going to become really huge, and it obviously is, but I like to think that it's going to swing back around to people are going to want.
I think it already is swinging around to.
Yeah, hopefully.
People are seeing the need to just see human faces and hear human voices.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Emilie. This was such an incredible conversation. The perfect way to end my little cluster of interviews today. So thank you. Do you have either a favorite quote or words of inspiration to leave us with?
Yeah, I do. There was a big writers' festival in Auckland here, which is where I live. It's the biggest city in New Zealand. And I went to a couple of things and it was really inspiring. And one of the people I went to see was Jane Campion, who is a New Zealand director. She's actually won a couple of Oscars. She's incredible. She's just such a boss. I love her. And she said at the end, if your inspiration is bigger than your fear, you'll be okay. And I just love that so much because I think so many of us are so scared to do things. But if your inspiration is bigger than that fear, there's no way you're not going to make that work. And I just thought that was really powerful.
Oh, I love that. I've never heard that before, but wow. Yeah, that's really powerful.
Yeah, that's what we're all striving for.
Yes, exactly. Fear can get us. Oh,
yes.
It can be nasty. We'll put together show notes for you, Emilie. If you want to go look at those, head to eblogtalk.com/the burnt butter table. Tell everyone where they can find you, Emilie.
Yeah, cool. So my website is theburntbuttertable.com, and then you can come and chat with me on Instagram at burntbuttertable. I love chatting in my DMs and answering questions, and so everyone come say hi.
It's a good place to make friends, I hear.
Definitely. Come be my friend.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you again, Emilie, so much. And thank you for listening, food bloggers. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Eat Blog Talk. Don't forget to rate and review Eat Blog Talk on your favorite podcast player. Thank you, and I will see you next time.